Hello everyone, this is Krota giving you Game 5 in a best of 5 series between Liquid Huck and FXO MoonGlade. Game 5 taking place on Shakuras Plateau. I am looking forward to this matchup. Should be a great game. The first 4 games in this series, if you guys have not seen them already, have been great. MoonGlade, one of the best players, if not the best player from Australia, versus Liquid Huck, probably one of the best players, if not the best player from Canada. So Canada versus Australia, we'll go ahead and say that it is Canada versus Australia, even though I believe right now both players are currently living in Korea. Last time I heard, I believe MoonGlade did actually qualify for GSL as an A-class player, not an S-class, but an A-class player, and we'll see how this game goes. Shakuras Plateau, one of those maps which was added to the 1v1 map pool that I really think benefits Zerg a lot. The fact that you know that you are always going to cross spawn on this map allows you to open up a very early hatchery. And with that early hatchery, get a very strong economic lead. I've seen a lot of Protoss players go forge first on Shakuras Plateau, trying to put down some photon cannons and establish their own natural expansion as well, in a response and a reaction to the Zerg player trying to go for an early hatchery. And there we go, Glade already sending his drone down. It looks like, nope, it is not going to be that. The spawning pool now back being placed down over here. There is that one probe. That probe will see that spawning pool has been placed down. And Glade going for a spawning pool first, not even extractor pool first, just extractor pool, just a pool extractor. And I'm curious as to what exactly this build will be. We now see a gateway currently warping in from Liquid Huck. We should be getting a cybernetics core right there in just a moment. We do see the assimilator currently being warped in, so that most likely means that it will be cybernetics core play instead of a double gate opening. A double gate opening would actually be very peculiar and strange at this point. Liquid Huck just on patrol with this one probe over here on the low ground, making sure to keep track of when that expansion is set up. And Overlord is now in the air, just wandering around, able to give sight. And now we see currently a probe making its way over. We should be getting a zealot, and then followed by a cybernetics core. So the drone is still just wandering around. The Overlord unable to spawn creep just quite yet. Otherwise, he could spawn creep right here, making it very difficult for that front door to be sealed. And now that drone with 5 hit points able to return all the way home and live to fight another day. We now see Zerglings making their way down over here. A hatchery has been set up, and now 4 Zerglings against one, trying to chase down one probe. I believe that probe will be able to return all the way home. Both of those units passing each other in the middle of the night. And now, oh, the probe doing a double back around. And now Liquid Huck getting a lot of scouting information. We'll see if this Overlord here spots actually this probe. The probe may try to set up a proxy pylon down here and then warp in units, or perhaps even go for a Stargate. A Stargate with Void Raids would be very deadly at this situation. And now a Liquid Huck learning to not to also place a pylon here in order to really let's seal off this front door. You can see that the sentry is currently being trained. Zerglings are trying to peck away at the gateway. The gateway, however, should finish up that sentry in just a moment, and the sentry will be able to attack and fight back these swarming Zerglings. There we go, and now those Zerglings are returning home. Cybernetics core, 550 hit points, not as much surface area. Important to try to take down the gateway. You can see the probe is still wandering around on the inside of the space. The queen not turning around for some reason and doesn't take down that one scouting probe. So that scouting probe now going to return home, may run straight back into this swarm of Zerglings here. The Zerglings now going after that probe. The probe already down to 5 shields, 20 hit points, but I believe the probe should be able to run away. Yeah, it looks like it will be able to, as there is now a pylon currently warping in on that low ground as well. Liquid Huck going into a gateway build, and now perhaps going to get up a lot of sentries. So it looks like Liquid Huck going to macro up into a lot of sentries. I like this play as a coming in from the Protoss player. Sentries are very strong against Zerg, especially in a field where it is easy to get flanked. It's also good for separating roaches, and as well, Hydralisk, it is effective when you throw up those Guardian shields and reduce the incoming damage. So early sentries always very useful. However, it will delay the tech of Huck, as Huck knows each of these sentries is worth 100 gas, meaning that robotics facilities, Stargates, and the Twilight Council are most likely going to be delayed for a little while longer. Glade still not going to tier 2 yet. He does have 2 extractors up, 3 extractors up, and now going for a lot of spine crawlers. This is the proper response to Huck's current macro game. You can see that he's currently going to be running off of 5 gateways, also setting up another nexus here. So 5 gateways, he will be able to warp in a lot of units very easily. But Glade has a very strong map control or map presence. So even if Huck does try to move out, Glade should be able to see this incoming army. 2 Zerglings sitting outside the front door. See that there are a couple sentries there. Sentries now moving out, cleaning up those Zerglings. There are 2 Zonaga watchtowers being activated by Glade as well. So Glade will see this army incoming. I have yet to see whether or not players would actually try to take down these rocks and then take down these rocks to circumnavigate and walk around a Zonaga watchtower they perhaps did control. The Zerglings quickly falling to the wayside there. Another group of sentries going to move off to the north, going to take down those Zerglings, that one Zergling, and now a lot of sentries. And now moving back, what Liquid Huck is trying to do at this stage is he's trying to get his get Glade to invest in a lot of units and not power drone nearly as much. You can see that he has 3 spine crawlers here, a couple roaches as well. And with those roaches, he thinks that he should be able to hold off against a swarm of sentries and zealots. But as soon as one pylon is perhaps set up around here and we get some stalkers, those stalkers with a range of 6 should be able to fight back very easily. Glade now being very smart as well, trying to set up some additional creep tumors down, allowing for massive creep tumor presence, and now he will be setting up a 3rd base as well. So there is that 3rd base being set up over here at what I'll call the natural expansion for the 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock location. Overlord just hanging around over here, making sure to not be within combat range. And now we are going into a Hydralisk den. So it's going to be Roach Hydra coming in from Glade. And this is going to become very problematic for Huck. If Huck lets Glade macro off of 3 to 4 bases, and he does get a very large amount of larva, it's going to be very difficult to stop him, as Glade will be able to attack move with his army, and as soon as his army is low or his army takes some damage, he just simply re-queues it back up, training off of 40-50 larva, and then just dumps it out once again. We'll see how this is all going to work out as we now see an army of zealots and sentries on the move. I don't see a Baneling's Nest though, so that is going to be important as Banelings do additional damage versus these light units. Sentries, Zealots, and Stalkers are on the move, but there is not a probe in this group. Not going to be able to set up a proxy pylon at all. So with Huck right now, what you see is what you get. Perhaps he will try to hallucinate a lot of additional units. Say if he hallucinates some more stalkers, they may be able to absorb a lot of damage, but those roaches and those hydralisks fighting on creep, moving very quickly and very effectively, and Glade has a very strong map presence and a very strong creep highway, spreading creep about, I would say, 30% of the map so far, and now the units are in full retreat. Taking a look at the unit combinations, 50 drones compared to 54 probes. Drones are now not even being transferred over here yet. A spawn larva now trying to get an even stronger economy going. And Glade continuing to just build more and more bases. Also getting is that another hatchery? Where is that hatchery? Another hatchery over here in order to keep up with his larva production. I don't see a spire or anything else, but now we have the units coming across the back door, and this is okay, so yeah, coming across the back door here, Stalkers, and a Nexus establishing this expansion, and this is going to become very difficult. You can see that the sentries and the Zealots may be able to try to take down these backdoor rocks. Glade does not know that there is an expansion currently being set up by Liquid Huck, and this is a very gutsy move. The fact that he has a lot of sentries down here, though, will help him in that those sentries will be able to drop force fields and prevent any units from flying over, but we now, from coming down that ramp, but we are getting a Spire, so we may be getting Colossus or Mutalisk. There are currently 2 observers sitting over here, revealing the sight onto these creep tumors. The creep tumors, however, are not able to see past this brush here, so that's why this is currently stopped and they're not continuing to move out. But now down go these backdoor rocks. The rocks are going to be coming back down, and Glade now doesn't have the same creep spread along this backside, and this may be a problem for him as Glade wants to be able to use a high mobility of Zerg on creep. Still just getting double spawn larva into these locations here. You can see him. He's still running off of 7 larva. 7 larva off of 5 hatcheries right now. 4 hatcheries, a 5th hatchery now coming into play. And now an observer quickly coming in and now shot down. So that Overseer is in the air. The Overseer trying to run away. The Stalkers may be able to get some damage. And now Overseer with movement speed upgrade. Moving as the same speed as an upgraded Zealot. Not a charging Zealot, but a Zealot leg Zealot. Able to just once again retreat. So we have the Zealots with level 1 weapons upgrade. The Roaches and the Hydralisks are currently getting the level 2 weapons upgrade. And now we also are getting some setting some changelings down the ramp. The changelings quickly going to get sliced apart by those Colossi. The Colossi now with a range of range of 9, able to get a lot of damage early on, and now going after that very, very vulnerable spawning pool. So that is going to be an issue. Once again, another Colossus coming in. So 3 Colossi quickly coming in, dealing that damage. In come those Roaches. Roaches and Hydralisks starting to peck away. Are we going to... Yeah, the Corruptors are going to be in the air now, and the Corruptors will only with a range of 6 have to be very careful. Otherwise, those Stalkers are going to be able to get that damage. Hydralisk now trying to come in, and now another spawning pool may need to be built. Yeah, down to 18 hit points. There it goes. A second spawning pool is already currently being built elsewhere, as we now see gateways and a Nexus and a Twilight Council. So Liquid Huck going further up that tech tree, has a very large army, and also has a very, very strong tech presence as well. Glade, not too shabby either, sitting at 200 maximum food count, re-getting that spawning pool, and at some point he needs to consider teching to tier 3. We've seen before what happens when a Zerg player over-invests into Corruptors. They become absolutely useless once those Colossi are taken down. Roach is now simply swarming down over here, and now the Colossus need to try to come back in, try to deal more damage, and I believe this one Photon Cannon, no, the Photon Cannon will be able to fight off against the rest of those units, as those Stalkers are going to be able to just simply move and attack in a very, very tight choke point there. One force field preventing any Hydralisk from being able to walk up that ramp. And now if those Colossi wanted to, they would simply be able to just attack, move up that force field, destroy it, and now burning Hydralisk to be shown. Production-wise, both sides, army-wise, 5,000 to 5,000, and oh, very nice force fields. Colossus just doing a great job. Stalkers now trying to fight back against the rest of those Corruptors in the air. The Corruptors doing a great job corrupting those Colossus. The Colossus taking additional damage, and now Hydralisk, both sides taking a lot of losses so far. As this continues, the battle is raging on. Hydralisks are upgraded 2-0 against 1-0. Drones coming off the mineral line now, and now all those Corruptors in the air, unable to really do anything at all. Hydralisks and Roaches continue to push, and both sides have taken a beating. But production-wise, 7 Roaches, level 1 Mutalisk weapons upgrade, and compared to, what, 2 Colossus, Stalker Blink, and the Protoss level 1 shield. Stalkers now 1-1, will be 1-1-1. Corruptors quickly trying to come in, trying to get more damage across that massive Colossus. A lot of damage is being dealt. The Corruptors are giving chase, and I believe that Colossus is going to get taken down. Roaches now continuing to push as well, and a lot of damage is being dealt back and forth. But the problem with Glade is right now, Glade doesn't have as much... Oh, he has a lot of larva on one of those hatcheries. Never mind. Right here, yeah, 15 larva, but he does not have it hotkeyed, so he does not know about this. Now he finally realizes it, adding it to his hatchery hotkey, and now training up 21 Roaches, about 1750 mineral army. That is going to be a much larger army that Liquid Huck is going to be forced to deal with. No creep tumors yet being spread across the center of the map just quite yet, and those Corruptors running head on into Photon Cannon and Stalker Fire. A lot of those Corruptors just simply getting shot out of the sky, and now with Stalker Blink online, Stalker Blink allows those Stalkers to move at the speed of light and chase those units very, very quickly. And one of the things, if you did not notice, Stalker Blink, it now has the blink animation, not for where the Stalker was, but where the Stalker will be. So it forces your attention over in that location there, and as opposed to those Roaches trying to shoot at what was there. Stalkers now back over here. Colossus are upgraded 1-1-1. The Protoss level 2 weapons upgrade coming online. There are 4 Colossi, and those Colossi are continuing to deal a lot of damage. Colossus able to move up and down that cliff very, very easily, and the Corruptors are in the air. The Corruptors perhaps should decide to try to grow up or morph into Broodlords. Broodlords do have a much longer range, and now going after those Colossus. Roach is now trying to come down this ramp over here. Roach is just simply attack moving. Corruptors going after those Colossus. Stalkers are on that low ground and now splitting up that army back and forth, and now Stalkers on that high ground continuing to give chase. More Corruptors coming back in. Roaches battling it out back and forth. Stalkers taking a lot of damage. Stalker Blink Micro now being used, but the sheer army size of the Protoss is just sheerly dominating as those Colossi continue to attack move. Production-wise, level 2 Zerg Flyer attack for those Corruptors, but it doesn't matter as those Corruptors are not dealing nearly as much damage as he really wants to get out of them, trying to deal even more. It looks like the Colossus just simply will get taken down. More Roaches coming in a 900 mineral army compared to a 3,000 mineral army, and all of Glade's tech is currently in trouble. May lose this hatchery as well, and this hatchery is also the hatchery that is currently researching Burrow, and that is going to reset the research there. And now Glade needs to think about what he really wants to do. He needs to transfer a lot of drones. Both players running off of 4 bases right now, but Glade is trying to establish trying to reestablish his 4th base. Meanwhile, Liquid Huck currently running off of 3 right now as those Colossi and Stalkers are moving back and forth. A war of attrition. Can Glade stop this massive mechanical ball of Stalkers and Colossus? And what is it going to take to stop it? Just a sheer macro game here, as the Colossus are now level 2 weapons upgrade, level 1 armor, and level 1 shields. Level 3 or level 2 Zerg Flyer attack nearing completion, and the Spire is still online, so the Spire will be able to get in a lot of damage, but there are no creep tumors here, so all of these buildings will start to bleed in just a moment. This evolution chamber already bleeding, but I'm more talking about the lines of actually suffering damage as opposed to regenerating. Stalkers now trying to move along this front side here. Colossi quickly going to come in and now start taking down many of these these spine crawlers. Spine crawlers only a range of 7, and they are going to fall. 6 Corruptors now being built and trained. Stalkers now blinking into this expansion location here. Glade going to lose this one. And wow, Glade, who had such a large advantage in this best of 5 series, taking the first 2 games and then losing the next 2, now may lose the 3rd game with a very impressive, just massive Stalker Colossus play here. Not even Void Rays in the air to try to absorb some of the damage from those Corruptors, as Void Rays are not massive units and don't take the full damage from Corruptors. So Colossus and Stalkers, very difficult to try to get a Zerg Swarm around those units. What you really need to see is a Neural Parasite across the Colossus in order to try to swing the tides of those battles, try to get a couple fungal growths as well, as those fungal growths stop that Stalker army from even blinking. And now we have a lot of Corruptors in the air. Those Corruptors are going to be able to deal 24 damage per attack. Roaches were trying to give chase, but the Stalkers, who can move at the speed of light with that Stalker blink, decides to pull back once again. Army-wise or unit-wise, we see 76 probes, 7 Colossus, and 40 Stalkers. This is just a Stalker Colossus. Not as many units as, say, MMM at all, but this will probably be talked about as very impressive Protoss play, as there are so many Stalkers, such a large army now sitting at 200, over 200. Liquid Huck now just gathering more and more minerals, sitting on a bank of about 3,000. Glade doesn't have as nearly much of a bank, but I believe he does know. He doesn't even have the sheer army size as well, so this is going to become very difficult for Glade to even fight this back. His units are upgraded 2-2 though, and now Stalkers quickly coming in. Hydralisk now trying to battle it back and forth. Corruptors are in the air trying to get some corruption across multiple Colossus. The Colossus are getting taken down, but there is still a very large standing Stalker army, but a lot of damage is being dealt to the Colossus. The Colossus finally having level 3 weapons upgrade, and now all the Corruptors are in the air. And once again, I've said it before and I'll say it again, you need the Greater Spire and using Broodlords in order to fight back against this type of army. The sheer army size, the Stalkers are able to just deal damage toward those Corruptors. Corruptors are unable to fight back. Now we see a lot of Hydralisks here, but those Hydralisks cannot take on the sheer army size of the Stalkers. Production-wise, 6 additional Roaches now being trained. The Spire is going to start to bleed in just a moment. There is 1 Creep Tumor here, but the Spire may get taken down in just a moment. Hatchery has been completed. Stalker now just trying to retreat home. Army-wise, 4,900 versus 4,075. Glade still didn't get the memo that he needs to have an infestation pit and upgrade into tier 3 for those Broodlords. Such a large army, such a large portion of his army is those Corruptors, and they are just basically useless after those Colossi have been taken down. Where are those Corruptors that I mentioned earlier? There they are. Yeah, so we have, what, 13 Corruptors. I believe they cost 150, 100, so yeah, that's about a 2,000. Half of his army in terms of mineral count is Corruptors that are only going to be able to take down 2 Colossi. Not very smart investment there. Corruptors now trying to come in, trying to get some damage onto those Colossi. Colossi now backing off, and now Stalkers getting within range once again. Roaches are upgraded 2-2, no upgrade to tier 3, and now we see the level 2 ground armor and level 2 shield armor being researched. So Liquid Huck's units are going to be almost fully upgraded at 3-2-2 in just a couple more minutes. And this massive mech ball with Zealots now going to be able to deal a lot of damage. Zealots do not have Zealot charge, absorbing a lot of damage. Corruptors once again trying to come in, trying to deal more damage, and now those Corruptors are just focusing down many of those Colossi, now giving chase. However, he is now off of creep. So off of creep, those Hydralisks and those Roaches are not going to be able to deal nearly as much damage, but army-wise, Stalkers are still running and very scared. They could just Stalker blink away once again, not quite sure, and now he just retreats all the way back home. Liquid Huck does get a nice reinforcement of Stalkers, 10 additional Stalkers, so 49-25 versus 40 or 50. Wow, that was a lot of Hydralisks all of a sudden being trained up, but that may not matter as we are going to be getting Psystorm in just a moment. Corruptors in the air trying to do a little bit of scouting first and now try to absorb some of that damage, and now there are 2 observers in the air as well. Hydralisks continue to move around. Those 2 Stalkers are just free for the taking. I do not believe Glade actually sees them though, and now those Stalkers blink away. So a very large, very impressive macro game happening here on Shakuras Plateau. Only 3 of the mineral patches on the map have yet to be mined or have a Nexus currently building or hatchery already built there, as these units are now on the move. 62-75 versus 55-25, but the Hydras are very far away from home, and this is going to be coming very bad. And we now see, what, 2 additional Colossus now currently being trained, but that is a very large swarm. And without any of those Colossus there, Glade may be able to come in and deal a lot of damage. But oh, there's the Psystorm eating away at so much of this army. And now Glade caught in a very dangerous position here. More units could be warping in. Stalkers now blinking in. Colossi, level 3 weapons upgrade. Stalkers now trying to deal more damage as well, as after this very softened Hydralisk Roach army. There are a lot of Corruptors in the air, and the majority of the army is currently Corruptors. There are still some Hydralisks and some Roaches, but not even one full control group, as those Stalkers are continuing to battle it out. More Zealots coming in, more Stalkers coming in as well, and I believe the army is going to start to dwindle. And yeah, there it goes. The Corruptors now trying to fly away. There are 8 Corruptors left in the air, but there's not much that really can be done. The Spire has bled to death, so I do not see any additional Corruptors within the foreseeable future. We now see more Roaches coming in as well, and Glade has really never transitioned into Zerglings. Zerglings would be a very strong counter to the sheer number of Stalkers, but because those Stalkers are in such a tight ball, it's very difficult to try to flank them. We now have, what, 2 Colossi and, what, 3 High Templar in this group. A couple Psystorms and a couple Thermal Lances later, the army of Glade, even though it is about toe-to-toe even with Huck right now, I believe Huck just has the advantage. Huck has stronger upgrades, 3-2-2 upgrades compared to 2-0 on the Corruptors and 2-2 only on those Roaches and those Hydralisks. The Roaches do not have the same creep spread, and those Stalkers quickly zeroing in on their target, getting a lot of damage, and now going back and forth. We now see Corruptors. Where are those Psystorms? There we go. Very tight pocket. All of those Roaches taking so much damage right there, and Roaches just sitting in a Psystorm, and that was just a horrible loss there. Liquid, Huck, and Glade exchanging armies, but because the Psystorm just did so much damage and weakening, the Stalkers were able to just finish them down. There's that Stalker blink, picking off so many of those drones, trying to run away, and yeah, this is the end. 4,000 mineral army versus a 2175. Stalkers once again trying to pull back, trying to play it very safe. I do not see any additional Colossus. We do have additional High Templar being warped in once again, there is also one Archon, and that Archon is also a very deadly flow, able to deal 47 damage per attack, able to two-shot many of those Hydralisks. The Archon also has 3 shields, so it does take reduced damage as well. That's one of the weaknesses of the Archon. Normally, Protoss players don't upgrade the shields, but it looks like it is going to be upgraded. We are also getting the Gravitic Drive. I always forget if that is the research for the observers or if that is the research for the Warp Prisms, but a very long game here, and now Huck just sitting back, trying to reestablish his expansions, making sure that he has a very, very strong economy. And it looks like we're going to have some Warp Prism play, and with the Warp Prism, he's going to be able to set up a proxy prism here, and then start warping in Zealots along the backside as he does a main attack over here. Stalkers now trying to fight back and forth. The one Archon deciding to pull back once again, and where are those Warp Prisms? One Warp Prism here, one Warp Prism here. He's going to actually flank the 11 o'clock expansion with 2 sets of Warp Prisms. We just need to wait for those Warp Gates to come online. Zealots now also charging in as well to take down some of the key tech buildings, and now this is going to be a 3-pronged attack. Here comes the units over here. High Templar are going to do a straight Psystorm into this mineral patch over here on the north side. Drones are getting toasted and just taking so much damage. Feedback onto that Queen. They need to merge into an Archon there. Zealots cleaning up the rest of this tech over here, and now it looks as though Glade trying to do an all-in attack with these Roaches and those Corruptors, but it's not going to work out. Stalkers are going to be able to just blink in within that 0 distance. Now going out, now walking through their own Psystorm, not caring, and now MoonGlade says GG, well played. So Liquid Huck coming back from a 2-0 deficit in this best of 5 series and wins in a very impressive manner here on Shakuras Plateau, a map that generally favors Zerg. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this 1v1 replay between Liquid Huck and MoonGlade.